Yeah. You sent me all those. Look at the one where it's up close of just the bridge. All right, we are live game 2 states for Bell Tire. Honey Baked. Apologies for the misspelling on Honey Baked. We'll restart in the third period and get the extra D off. Looks like we're going to be starting out here with Streeter in net. Markovich, Dobbs, Agbe. Mackenzie Flanagan and Martin on D. So as we get going here we go. Puck is down. Game 2 underway. Honeybaked with possession. Going across neutral here. This is going to be jumped up by Agbay. Honeybaked losing it in the corner. Markovich taking advantage of the mishandled puck. A little bit of a collision there. Shot right on net, and Beltire coming out strong here. Agbay going across to Flanagan. Flanagan going back to Agbay, just missing its mark. And Honeybaked collecting in the half wall, coming down through neutral. Martin getting that puck tipped out in neutral zone here, pinning up against the wall, waiting for Agbay to jump in, who sends it down deep into the Honeybaked zone. 16-18 on the clock. This game just getting started. We've got Bellucci Hewer out there with Kazarowski, Martin, Caitlin Flanagan. Martin shot on net. It's turned aside by the goalie, glassed up by Honeybaked and into neutral. This is going to roll down deep into the Beltire zone. Martin to chase, sending it around the boards, finding Kazarowski on the wall. Kazarowski sending it ahead into neutral. Picked up by Honeybaked in their own zone. Bellucci and Hewer on the hunt here. Hewer shoving it towards the wall, trying to keep that deep. Morton stepped in now for Beltire. Kazarowski with possession, dumping it deep as she goes for a change. And out jumps Evans, Cruciano, and Clemens. Evans jumping right into the play, stopping that puck at the blue line of the Honeybaked zone. Honeybaked now moving it up. Morton's going to send it down deep. Offsides delayed called. Morton's going to try and skate around and catches herself before she touches the puck. Bowman jumping in on ice for Flanagan. So Bowman and Morton out for Beltire on D. Honeybaked dropping that deep behind the Beltire net. Bowman passing around to Cruciano on the wall. Cruciano keeping it moving up the wall. Gets sent back in by Honeybaked behind the Beltire net. Now Morton with possession, sending it up ice. That's going to make its way out of the zone. And now Bowman with possession, sending it up into Cruciano, getting a tip as she goes for a change. Honeybaked retreating into their own zone, coming up through neutral now. And back out on ice is Mackenzie Flanagan. Flanagan behind her own net, backhanding, intercepted by Honeybaked. Flanagan moving it up the wall, finding Markovich. Markovich trying to send it up. Stuck at the half wall, Dobbs out to help. Honeybaked with possession into the slot. Gloved by Streeter as she starts off with a save. All right, line change for Beltire is going to bring out Agbay, Markovich, Dobbs, Mackenzie Flanagan, and Martin on D. The puck is down, picked up by Martin. Martin moving down the wall, sending it around for Agbay at the half wall. Agbay picking it up with no pressure, sending it across. Dobbs getting it tipped in momentarily into Honeybaked zone. Picked up now by Dobbs. Markovich, oh, what a great stick save down and keeping that moving forward. Honeybaked now with possession behind their own net. Challenged by Hewer and Agbay. Agbay stopping that puck, trying to get it sent back down deep. Collected in by Honeybaked. Now this is going to be defended by Flanagan. Mackenzie. Drop pass by Honeybaked. Pinned up against the wall by Hewer. Now Kazarowski stepping in. It is pinned between Kazarowski and Hewer as Hewer goes down to the ice. And that's going to be underneath. They're going to whistle it dead. And this should be a draw. Looks like it's going to be inside the Beltire zone. On the clock, it's 13:40 something. 49. Hewer on the draw. Kazarowski out there with... And that puck is down Bellucci. Bellucci now down into the corner for Beltire. Martin picking it up, sending it around. Looking for an outlet pass. Picked up by Flanagan, sending it back the other way. This is going to be picked up by Martin in the corner. Martin moving it ahead at the half wall, where it's picked up now by Bellucci. Bellucci chipping it ahead. That's going to go through the neutral zone. Icing wave. Bellucci chasing it down at the half wall. And two sticks lost in the process there. Bellucci going back to retrieve her stick. That puck sent ahead. Morton picked it up, trying to tip it out to Cruciano. Intercepted by Honeybaked. Sent back down. Evans on ice, chipping it ahead. Cruciano, Clemens on ice for Beltire now. Sorry, trying to keep up with the line changes. On D, we've got Morton and Caitlin Flanagan. It looks like that is Evans that lost her stick. So So now Honeybake coming up through neutral. This is going to be defended by Dobbs. Now Mackenzie Flanagan. Offsides called on Honeybake to freeze play. As we get rolling again, it's going to be Markovich, Dobbs, Agbe, Morton, and Caitlin Flanagan. Drop back to Morton. Morton sending it back to Caitlin Flanagan. Flanagan moving it ahead to Markovich. Markovich backhand up to Dobbs. Dobbs gaining the zone, sending the centering pass to Agbe, and just missed its mark. Kept it moving down deep into the Honeybake zone. Outlet pass coming from Honeybake off the half wall. Picked up and another stick lost. Caitlin Flanagan trying to play soccer with the puck. Catches an edge, and she's going to go for a change. Out jumps Bowman. Sent down deep by Agbe into the Honeybake zone behind their net. Picked up by Honeybake. Moving it up ahead, Hewer stepped in with Palucci on the half wall. Palucci coming free with the puck. Palucci moving in, backhand, looking for a centering pass. Nobody home. Stepped up by Mackenzie Flanagan. Now Bowman, one-on-one. Hewer coming in to help. Hewer going down deep into the corner, sending it around. Another stick lost in the process here. So we've got Mackenzie Flanagan with possession behind her own nets. Covered up by a Honeybake player. Bowman stepping in to help. Bowman moving it ahead. Palucci with a stick lift to keep that puck moving out into neutral zone. Picked up by Honeybake down into their zone. Kazarowski applying pressure. Kazarowski, she's dangerous here. And that's picked up by Evans, sent ahead. Honeybake with possession behind their own net. Kazarowski putting on pressure. Martin and Mackenzie Flanagan out with Clemens, Evans, and Cruciano. Honeybake dropping that deep into the Bell Tire zone. This is going to be picked up by Martin in the corner. Martin moving it up to Clemens. Clemens with a backhand pass. Gets intercepted now. Martin moving up ice. Going wide to Clemens. Clemens in neutral. Clemens gaining the zone. Sending it in on net. Goes wide. Picked up by Cruciano in the corner. Now Evans on the half wall. Now it's going to roll back down into the Bell Tire zone. Picked up by Caitlin Flanagan. Caitlin moving it up ice. Finding Evans. Evans going across to Clemens. Clemens dropping it deep, going for a line change. Cruciano going to be by herself while Dobbs and Markovich step in to help. And that puck coming out into neutral. Picked up by Flanagan. That's going to go into the Honeybake bench to freeze play. With 10 minutes and 39 seconds on the clock. On ice, Dobbs, Markovich, Agbe, Martin, Caitlin Flanagan. Center ice face off, puck is down. Honeybake with possession in neutral, stepped up. That is going to be offsides. On the draw, Dobbs. Won it over to Agbe. Agbe moving it up ice. Agbe getting it into the Honeybake zone. Leaving bodies as she go. Agbe down into the corner hard. Picked up by Dobbs. Dobbs dropping it back to Flanagan. Flanagan moving it across to Martin. Martin off the wall. Martin sending it in on net. And Honeybake's going to cover that up and freeze play. So this will be a draw inside the Honeybake zone as we resume here. Dobbs on the draw. Puck is down, one back to Caitlin Flanagan. Shot in, hit Agbe's back, and coming out into neutral by Honeybake. Caitlin stopping that onslaught rush here. Now Martin stepping in. Turned aside by Streeter. Ended up on Markovich's stick. Markovich sending it down deep into neutral. Chased down by Martin. Martin applying pressure, keeping it moving forward. And Honeybake's going to send that deep down into the Bell Tire zone, picked up by Caitlin Flanagan. Moving around, hitting the skate of a Honeybake player, looking to center. Picked up by Hewer. Hewer at the half wall, moving it ahead for Palucci. Now Hewer, keeping it deep. Palucci now one-on-one. Palucci, stick, toe drag, coming around. Turns it in on net. That puck's down in the corner. Big collision out front of the Honeybake net. Hewer stepping in to help out. Kazarowski out on ice for Bell Tire now with Morton and Mackenzie Flanagan on D. Honeybake moving in. Kazarowski applying lots of pressure. And Flanagan in route of getting that puck, taking out a Honeybake player, moving it up to Kazarowski, who sends it in on net. That's going to be gloved by Honeybake's goalie. 9:06 on the clock. Clemens, Cruciano, Evans on ice with Morton and Mackenzie Flanagan. Evans on the draw. Puck is down. Honeybake with possession, sending it up through. Picked up by Flanagan. Flanagan drags, shot, and hits the netting behind the Honeybake net. Restart here just inside the Honeybake zone. Puck is down. Clemens trying to battle here at the wall. Puck comes out of the zone into neutral by Honeybake. They move it up ice, down into the Bell Tire zone, offsides.
Good job, girls. Good team.
As we get moving again, we've got Dobbs out there with Agbe. Markovic, pass ahead by Caitlin. Intercepted by Honeybake, trying to turn the corner, pushed wide by Caitlin. Honeybake circling. And now this is going to be picked up by Agbe. Circling, coming in on net. Blocked aside. Honeybake down into the corner. Frozen up by Morton. Can't quite tell who else is in there. That's got to be Dobbs. Markovic comes out with it, sending it wide for Dobbs. Or I'm sorry, Agbe. Agbe with a big hit taken out. She's going to draw a penalty, and that is going to be a Bell Tire power play. We've got a special guest here tonight, Lex Urbani, all the way from Toledo, Ohio.
Well, Bell Tire.
Rooting on Bell Tire. Hewer Kazarowski out on ice with Bellucci, Martin, and Caitlin Flanagan. Hewer on the draw for this Bell Tire power play. Puck is down. Hewer tied up. Bellucci with the puck. Bellucci at the half wall, dropping it back for Flanagan. Flanagan to Bellucci. Bellucci going across, trying to find Martin. Intercepted, sent out into neutral by Honeybake. Flanagan keeping it moving and forward. Honeybake dropping it down into the Bell Tire zone. Picked up by Flanagan, over to Martin. Martin going across. Deflected and collected in by Hewer. Hewer trying to move it ahead. Bellucci catching it at the half wall, dropping it back to Flanagan. Flanagan going back to Bellucci. Bellucci now circling up. Shot across, trying to find Martin. Martin down in the corner, sending it around for Hewer. Hewer going up to Bellucci. Bellucci up top to Flanagan, just past her stick. Into neutral. And that's going to get sent down deep into the Bell Tire zone. Minute 12 remaining here in the power play for Bell Tire. Honeybake putting on pressure, taking out Caitlin Flanagan in the process. Martin stepping up, deflecting that puck. Picked up by Markovic. Now Martin. Martin moving up ice, finding Dobbs in neutral. Dobbs going up ice, dropping it for Markovic. And now Mackenzie Flanagan, picked up now by Martin. Martin dropping it back into their own zone, collecting in by Mackenzie Flanagan. Flanagan going up ice to Markovic. Markovic going to drop it deep. 36 seconds remaining in the power play for Bell Tire. In the corner, collected by Markovic. Now Dobbs. Dobbs walking into the zone. Picked up at the half wall by Markovic. Markovic going up top to Flanagan. Flanagan shot in, loose, and sent back out by Dobbs. Back up to Flanagan. Flanagan shot in, goes wide. Now picked up by Martin. Martin moving it back over to Dobbs. Dobbs up to Markovic. 10 seconds. Down to Dobbs. Dobbs, centering pass. He's going to hit a skate. Picked up by Markovic. Markovic going to turn and drop it back for Flanagan. Now picked up by Martin in the slot. Shot is going to hit a glove and go out. That is going to be the end of the power play. Markovic dropping it to Dobbs. And we have a whistle for a Honeybake net off its moorings. 6:02 on the clock. As we restart here, we're going to have Mackenzie and Caitlin out on D. Clemens, Evans, Cruciano out for Bell Tire. That puck is down, over to Caitlin. Caitlin over to Mackenzie. Mackenzie shot in. Is out in front of the net and able to be cleared by Honeybake. That's going to roll the length. should be an icing, and that will be. Beltire looking to capitalize on one of those pucks just sitting free in the crease. As we restart, Caitlin Flanagan, Martin out on D. Clemens, Evans, Cruciano remaining on ice. Puck is down. Honeybake with possession behind their own net. Chased by Cruciano. To the half wall. Outlet pass. Kept back in by Beltire's pressure. Sent rink wide. Going back across the other side. And tipped out. Cruciano trying to keep it in. Martin able to keep that puck in. And Evans picks it up. Drops it back to Caitlin. Caitlin up to Evans. Honeybake intercepted in neutral and sent down into the Beltire zone. Defended by Martin. Martin at the half wall. Martin able to collect that puck. Martin moving free. Martin going across. Held up a little bit. Martin turning the corner. Martin waiting for her help. And down into the corner. Hewer stepped out with Kazarowski. Hewer takes over and sends it down deep. Picked up by Palucci almost at the corner. And the half wall where Hewer takes over. This is going to be defended by Martin. Martin stepping up. Getting a stick on that puck. And Bowman stepping in to help. Moving it around. Finding Palucci on the wall. Just past her stick. Collects it in anyways. Now Palucci with a step. This is where Palucci's dangerous. She's going to slide in. Shot is going to go just over the net. Go wide. Bowman's going to step up here on D. Now we've got Mackenzie Flanagan. Offside on Honeybake. Okay, 4:37 on the clock. This draw will be just outside of the Beltire zone. Puck is down. You were on the draw out there with Palucci, Kazarowski, Mackenzie Flanagan, Bowman. Flanagan stepping up, able to keep that puck at her feet, stepping into the zone. Backhand trying to center it out for Kazarowski. Turned aside by Honeybake's goalie. Sent back out, picked up by Dobbs. Now into neutral. Dobbs out with Markovic and Agbay. Agbay jumping in, gets a stick on it. Agbay making her free. Markovic with a hammering drive. Goes wide of the net. At the half wall, collected in by Honeybake, down into the corner. Honeybake working around their zone, coming out up into neutral. Collected in, center ice. Played ahead. This is going to be defended by McKenzie. Missed shot by Honeybake. Pressure put on by McKenzie. Now Markovic going down to a knee. Backhanded in. Missed its mark. Streeter covering up on the short angled shot towards the post. So on ice, we're going to have Morton, and a line change here is going to bring out Kazarowski, Palucci, Hewer, and Caitlin Flanagan on D. Hewer on the draw. Puck is down. Picked free by Morton, down into the corner. Caitlin Flanagan now with possession behind her own net, backhanded it up for Hewer, intercepted at the point by Honeybake. Shot in, blocked by Morton. What a tough play by Morton on that one. Morton wasn't letting that puck come through, got in the face of Honeybake and kept on moving. That puck now down into the Honeybake zone. That's going to be an icing. All right. All right, as we get going back again, Dobbs, Markovic, Agbay out with Martin, and Morton. Puck is down. Morton backhanding it across to Martin. Martin turning up ice. Martin going down deep, finding Agbay up at the Honeybake blue line. Agbay chipping it in. Now behind the Honeybake net. Agbay slid into the net. Looks like she was interfered with, but we're going to have a whistle on that one as the net comes off. We get going. Dobbs on the draw. Won it back to Agbay. Agbay chipping it back for Morton. Morton's just going to freeze it at the half wall and wait for help. Agbay jumping in behind. Agbay coming free with the puck. Honeybake circling at the half wall. Trying to come up. Picked up by Agbay. Agbay trying to go up. Another stick lost in process. Martin backhanded in. We got a rogue stick on the ice. Yeah, that's 6 sticks so far tonight that have come loose. Honeybake coming up ice. Coming into neutral. Clemens stepping in to disrupt the play. Now Flanagan It's going to be dropped down into the bell tire zone. Picked up by Martin. Martin moving reverse and now getting pinned into the wall. Stepped in for help from Evans. Martin and Evans moving that puck forward. And it finally goes forward. Picked up by Honeybaked at the point. Shot blocked by Evans and Clemens. Martin at the half wall. Back up to the point. Shot in. Turned aside by Streeter. Picked up by Honeybaked. Shot back in. Picked up by Evans. Evans trying to chip it ahead. At the half wall. Evans, Cruciano battling at the wall. Picked free by Flanagan. Flanagan moving it to Martin. Martin moving it up ice to Clemens. And that puck is going to get sent back down in. And that pass disrupted by Evans, sent to the half wall by Cruciano. And now frozen at the half wall again. They're going to freeze play. So as we get rolling again here, we will have Hewer, Bellucci, Kazarowski, and Caitlin and McKenzie on ice for Bell Tire. Hewer on the draw, puck is down. And Caitlin Flanagan trying to move it around. Hewer trying to pick it free, gets it free. Now down in the corner, smothered by two Honeybaked players. Caitlin Flanagan stepping in to help. Kazarowski going to apply pressure at the half wall, picked free by Hewer, chipped ahead. Now Bellucci trying to get a step around, and a glove is lost of Honeybaked. He's got all kinds of gear getting lost during this play. Kazarowski sending it back down deep. Bellucci now picking it up in the corner. Hitting the brakes. Picked up by Honeybaked. Bellucci sending it back around. Picked up by Dobbs. Dobbs making a move. Dobbs trying to drive in. Dobbs going to go back to Flanagan. McKenzie sending it down deep. Going down into the corner. This is going to be chased down by Bellucci at the half wall. Now down into the corner. Honeybaked coming up to the half wall. Picked up by Flanagan. McKenzie sending it back down deep. Dobbs shipping it back down into the corner. Agbay on the hunt now. Down into the corner is Agbay and Dobbs. Sending it around. Bellucci's going to try and keep that puck moving around. Dobbs getting a stick on it. Agbay getting a stick on it. And Honeybaked finally going to work its way free up into neutral. This is going to be defended by Caitlin Flanagan. Caitlin pushing Honeybaked wide. Hitting the brakes. Centering pass. Missed opportunity. Picked up by Markovic. Markovic has the wheels here on open ice. Markovic coming down ice. Moving it across to Evans. Evans almost unable, just quite not able to get that puck past the Honeybaked goalie, who was positioned well to defend. So we're going to have a line change here, bringing out Martin, Mackenzie Flanagan, Bellucci, Kazarowski, and Hewer. Puck is down, just rolled out of the zone over Mackenzie's stick. She's going to move it sideways. That's going to hit a stick and go into the Honeybaked bench. We'll have a draw happening just outside the Honeybaked zone. Hewer on the draw. Kazarowski out there with Bellucci, Mackenzie Flanagan, and Martin. Puck is down. Flanagan with possession, sending it across to Martin. Martin going to send it in on net. And that'll just get covered. Oh, no, they let that play come free. It was a designed shot with apparently only a few seconds left. My apologies, I wasn't keeping track of the time. So that'll be our first break in action here. 0-0 is the score. See if we can get a close-up for the viewers at home of the intermission break. Wise words brought to you by Mike Vigilante. As we get back underway, we're gonna have Agbe, Markovic, Dobbs out there with Bowman and Martin. Puck is down. Martin with possession, sending it up the wall, looking for Agbe. Icing wave down into the corner. Honeybake zone picked up by Agbe. Agbe coming out front, hammered by Markovic, backhanded. Puck is right in the crease. Martin, holy shit. Just like Laura, my apologies for the language, but there's a couple of opportunities there. Honeybake able to keep it out of the back of their net right in the start of this second period. Martin with possession, shot in. That gets tipped, turned side of the net, picked back up by Martin off the half wall. Martin backhanded, looking for Dobbs. Dobbs chasing it down, backhanded it back into the zone. Now picked up by Martin. Martin moving it across to Bowman. Bowman going up ice. She's going to send it down deep into the Honeybake zone. This is going to be chased down by Kazarowski down in the corner. Kazarowski moving around hard. And picking that puck back up is Kazarowski. Kazarowski coming out, dropping it back for Bowman. Bowman walking down to Kazarowski. Kazarowski, shot. Glove, what a shot by Kazarowski. Gloved by Honeybake's goalie. Palucci, Kazarowski, Hewer on ice. Caitlin Flanagan and Morton. Kazarowski with the stick right here. There it comes back down deep by Caitlin Flanagan behind the Honeybake net. Chased by Kazarowski. Now picked up by Hewer on the half wall. Down into the corner. Honeybake picking up possession at the half wall. Turning up. Frozen by Hewer and sent around. Morton stepping in. Morton able to keep that puck in deep for a moment. Looks like we're going to have a penalty call coming here. That is going to be on Honeybaked. So Belt Tire is going to go on to a power play here, bringing out Agbe, Markovic, Dobbs, Martin, and Mackenzie Flanagan. Dobbs on the draw. Puck is down. Picked up by Markovic. Markovic up to Flanagan. Flanagan moving it around to Markovic. Markovic walking in, up to Flanagan. Flanagan back to Markovic. Markovic at the half wall. Moving it down to Dobbs. Dobbs walking in. Dobbs sending it out. Picked up by Martin. Martin shot off the back and kept out. Honeybake with possession now, sending it down deep. That's going to roll the length. Picked up by Flanagan, sending it around. Picked up by Martin in the corner, off the wall, half wall. Sending it ahead. Martin moving up. Martin gaining the zone. Stepping in, sending it deep into the corner. Picked up by Dobbs. Dobbs backhanded up to Markovic. Markovic back down to Dobbs. Dobbs behind the net, sending it back up off the skate of the ref. That was an unfortunate tip, and now Martin's going to chase here. Sent in by Honeybake. That was a bouncing puck. Good save by Streeter. Minute 9 on the power play line here. Kazarowski, Palucci, Hewer stepping out with Caitlin Flanagan and Martin. At 14:50 on the clock. Hewer on this draw. Puck is down. Martin with possession, driving it over to Flanagan. Flanagan sending it deep. Tipped in by Kazarowski on the stretch pass down behind the Honeybake net. Palucci applying a lot of pressure, stepped in by Hewer, now cleared out of the zone, picked up by Caitlin Flanagan. Flanagan making a quick move, turning around, getting it up to Martin. Martin moving it up to Hewer. And that puck rolls off the Honeybake stick, picked up by Kazarowski. Kazarowski hitting the break. She's going to move it up to Palucci. Palucci moving it back to Flanagan. Flanagan back to Palucci. Palucci going down to Hewer. Hewer going back up to Palucci. Palucci walking across, going to Flanagan. Flanagan shot in. Covered up by Honeybake's goalie. 23 seconds remaining here in this power play for Bell Tire. Mackenzie Flanagan stepping out there with Martin, Markovic, Agbe, and Dobbs. Dobbs on the draw. Puck is down. And that is cleared out by Honeybake, picked up by Mackenzie Flanagan. Flanagan hitting the brakes, backhanding up to Markovich. Markovich chipping it ahead, finding Dobbs. Dobbs gaining the zone. Dobbs hitting the brakes at the wall, and going to keep that puck down, and that's out to Flanagan. Flanagan's moving across to Martin. Martin with possession. Shot in. Loose at the crease, now down in the corner. Martin stepping in at the half wall. That's going to get cleared out. And Honeybake now, that's going to be an icing. Honeybake had a free player as the time expired on their penalty kill. So as we change lines up here, we're going to bring out Cruciano, Clemens, Evans, Mackenzie Flanagan, and Morton. Got 13:35 on the clock. Evans on the draw, puck is down into the corner of Honeybake's zone. Honeybake going up against the wall. Evans applying pressure, stepped up by Flanagan. Evans trying to keep that puck moving. Now Flanagan. Finally worked free. Clemens to chase. Honeybake behind their own net. Up to the half wall. Morton keeping it in. Clemens on just came out, but she's able to drop back to Evans. Evans moving it up to Cruciano, who's wide open. Cruciano gets a chip on it and is sent down into the corner. Honeybake coming up through, out into their slot. Picked up by Palucci, kept in momentarily. Now Cruciano. Puck gets sent down deep into the Bell Tire zone, and an icing called on Honeybake. It's going to bring that back to full length into their zone for a draw. Kazarowski Hewer out on ice with Palucci. Flanagan. One more D we need. We need one more D. Bowman stepping out. Bowman on ice now for Bell Tire. Sent around. Picked up by Caitlin Flanagan, who chips it ahead. Stuck at the wall. Chased in by Hewer. Hewer battling here. Just below us. And now picked free by Palucci. Sending it around to Kazarowski. Kazarowski sends a quick shot on net. Deflected by a skate of a Honeybake player. Honeybake with possession now behind their own net. Turning in, dangerous cut move. Picked up by Kazarowski. Kazarowski's shot is deflected, and Honeybake comes out now in a foot race with Flanagan, and now Bowman stepping in. Bowman with a big stop, getting it up to Hewer. Hewer is going to send it up, and Kazarowski's going to send it to length. Just get a change here, settle back in for Bell Tire as Dobbs, Agbe, Markovich come back out with Martin and Mackenzie Flanagan. This puck's going to be down into the Bell Tire zone off that icing with 12:09 on the clock. Dobbs on the draw, puck is one back. Martin backhanding it around to Flanagan. Flanagan, I'm sorry, that's going to make its way to Markovich. Markovich hits the brakes, comes back the other way, going for Martin. Martin now coming up the boards, glassing it out. That's going to make its way all the way to neutral where Dobbs is there to chase. Sent back ahead. Martin stepping in, clearing that puck free. Picked up by Flanagan. Flanagan sending it around, looking for Agbe. Just past her. Agbe keeps it moving forward. Agbe down into the Honeybake zone, down in the corner. Dobbs there to help. Sent aside to the half wall. Dobbs sending it back for Martin. Martin's going to send it in on net. That's chipped aside by Honeybake, picked up by Agbe, who's going to drop it back to Flanagan. Just misses her stick, goes out of the zone. Flanagan sending it ahead. It's going to just be out of the zone. Now chased by Martin. Honeybake. Martin just making her retreat back. Martin keeping the puck and getting that puck down deep is Markovich. Sent up the wall. Evans stepping in on ice here with Cruciano, Clemens, Caitlin Flanagan, and Martin at the half walls. Honeybake of their own zone. Turning back. Cruciano's going to put on pressure like she does. And now into neutral. Picked up by Caitlin Flanagan, sending it ahead. That's going to be waved off by the refs for icing, and Clemens coming in hard. Now Clemens trying to pick it free with, I think that's Cruciano down there. Clemens coming free, sending it back for Caitlin Flanagan. Flanagan sending it around for Morton. Morton shot in at his zone, and they'll find the back of the net by Eddie Cruciano. Off the shot of Morton. That's going to put Bell Tire up by 1. We knew we had to find the back of the net, and Cruciano did it with that puck hanging out there in the crease. That was the pass from Flanagan over to Morton. Morton's shot wound up in the crease, and Cruciano tucks it away. Hewer out on ice with Kazarowski, Palucci, Morton, and Caitlin Flanagan. Sending it around, picked up by Kazarowski. She's going to send it down deep into the Honeybake zone. Honeybake behind their own net. Chased by Hewer at the half wall. Palucci trying to pick it up. Hewer stepping in to help, keeps it moving. Palucci now with possession in the corner. Palucci sending it out front. Kazarowski right there. Hewer trying to step in for a drive home. She gets taken out in the process. Caitlin Flanagan now backhanding it back up. Kazarowski's going to send it deep. And Bell Tire's going for a line change. Markovich, Dobbs, Agbe, Bowman, and Mackenzie Flanagan out on ice for Bell Tire. And Honeybake with possession now deep into the Bell Tire zone. Chased down by Dobbs. Dobbs moving it up off the half wall. And stepped in is Bowman. Dobbs now with possession at the half wall on the other side. Clears out to neutral. Markovich on the hunt here. Honeybake coming up ice. Markovich applying pressure. Honeybake gaining the zone. Down into the corner. Chased by Bowman. Wraparound attempt. Cleared out. Picked up by Markovich, who's just going to send it the length. And that's going to go for an icing. They're just going to recollect themselves down in their zone. Freeze the play. Caitlin Flanagan, Martin stepping out with Cruciano, Clemens, and Evans. Evans on the draw. We got 9:22 on the clock. Puck is one down. Martin with possession in the corner. Picked up by Evans. Evans now with room to move. Evans going up ice, gaining neutral. Backhand just over the line. Chased down by Clemens. Clemens going in hard. Picked up now by Cruciano. Cruciano pushed down behind the Honeybake net. Sent up the wall. This is going to be collected in by Flanagan at the half wall. Now picked down, and Honeybake is going to clear that puck out. That should go the length. That's going to be a foot race for Martin, but it's going to be an icing call. So that'll come back to length here. As we restart, Hewer, Kazarowski, Palucci on ice with Caitlin Flanagan and Martin. Puck is down. Honeybake with possession. Trying to move it up the half wall. Picked up by Caitlin Flanagan. Caitlin walking in. Shot in. And at the feet, just hanging out in the crease. Hewer, quick shot, gets turned aside. Kazarowski backhanded down to Hewer. Hewer in the corner. Hewer now working free. Hewer getting it around to Palucci. Palucci going back the other way. Kazarowski going to pick it up in the corner. Moving it up. This is picked up by Caitlin Flanagan. She's going to send it back down deep on net. That gets turned aside by the Honeybake goalie. Everybody tags up and goes right back in. Dobbs on the hunt, picked up by Kazarowski. Now Martin. Martin's going to send it back down deep into the Honeybake zone. Rolling behind the Honeybake net, picked up by Honeybake. And they're going to turn inside. This is going to be chased now down by Markovich. That puck sent ahead is going to miss its mark and go down for an icing with, we have 8 minutes. Is that 8 on the clock? Markovich out there with Agbe, Dobbs, Morton, and Mackenzie Flanagan. Dobbs on the draw. Puck is down, one back. Picked up by Mackenzie. Mackenzie hitting it off the half wall, collected by Honeybake. Honeybake going to the half wall, picked up now in neutral by Flanagan, sending it down deep. Picked up by Dobbs. Dobbs moving in, sending it ahead for Agbe, looking for a tip. Now Markovich at the half wall, sending it around. Dobbs taken down in the process. Markovich freezing that puck at the half wall. Stepped up, now Flanagan. And Markovich with a second effort keeps that puck in momentarily. Now picked up by Morton. Morton moving it across to Mackenzie. Mackenzie sending it up. And it's going to be collected in Honeybake zone by Honeybake. Now back up at the Bell Tire zone. Sent back out by Mackenzie Flanagan. Sent back in. Offsides delayed. Now picked up by Morton. Sending it ahead for Cruciano. Cruciano sending it ahead by Evans down into the Honeybake zone behind her net. Evans is chasing hard. Cruciano stepping in to help. Bowman and Caitlin Flanagan out there with Clemens. Clemens coming free with the puck. And that's sent back to Bowman. Bowman going across. to Flanagan. Bouncing puck. Flanagan backhands it down deep. Picked up by Evans and Cruciano down in the corner behind the Honeybake net. Honeybake coming free with the puck, sending it up the half wall. Making a move now. Honeybake coming down. 2-on-1 on Flanagan. Shot in off the post. Streeter with good positioning, not allowing that shot to get taken into a good spot. And sent ahead by Evans. That's going to be an icing. Freeze play with 6 minutes and 23 seconds. Martin, McKenzie, Flanagan, Hewer, Palucci on ice with Kazarowski. As we get going again, Hewer on the draw, won that down, picked up by Martin, now picked up by Kazarowski. Kazarowski's going to chip ahead, gain the zone momentarily, sends it down deep. It's going to roll behind the net where it's picked up by Palucci. And now Hewer out front. Palucci keeping that puck down. Palucci behind the net. She's going to go off the wall, finding Martin. Martin going to send it in on net. It's going to be gloved down by Honeybake and sent ahead. That's going to find it at the skates of Mackenzie Flanagan, who sends it ahead off the skate and hits the glass. Frozen here at half ice. Palucci taken out in the process, and Hewer stepping in. They're going to freeze play here. We should have a center ice face-off to restart play. Agbe, Dobbs, Markovich out there with Mackenzie Flanagan and Martin. Mackenzie with possession, moving it up to Agbe. Agbe getting a stick on it. Chipped into the zone momentarily. Agbe applying pressure. Going behind the Honeybake net. Markovich stepping in to help at the half wall. Honeybake. Agbe keeping it in. Honeybake. Markovich. Markovich just being a pest here. Stepped up by Martin. And that puck makes its way deep into the Bell Tire zone. Diving block by Flanagan. Agbe now with possession in neutral. She's going to dump it deep. Go for a line change. You're going to have Cruciano stepped out with Evans, Clemens, Martin, Morton. Honeybake coming up ice. This is going to be defended by Martin. Martin stepping in, cutting it off at the corner. Sending it around the net. Picked up by Evans. Evans moving it ahead. Cruciano getting it chipped out. That's going to roll and be picked up by Honeybake from their own zone. Cruciano making her way immediately down. Now this is picked up by Martin. Martin turning up ice. Sending it ahead for Evans. Off the wall. Evans going to keep it rolling deep. That gets hung up at the door of Bell Tire's bench. And sent ahead. That's going to miss its mark and go down for an icing. 4 minutes, 32 seconds remaining in the second period. This will come down the length here. Hewer, Palucci out on ice with Kazarowski, Martin, and Caitlin Flanagan. Hewer on the draw. Puck is down. Kazarowski tied up. That puck comes out, comes free, picked up by Caitlin Flanagan, sent down deep into the Honeybake zone, picked up by Palucci. Palucci in the corner. Kazarowski moving it around. Honeybake behind their own net. Palucci on the hunt. Sent up to the half wall. Tipped by Hewer. And that comes free out of the Honeybake zone. Picked up by Hewer at half ice. Kept it moving it ahead. Hewer gets it jammed back down into the Honeybake zone. They circle their own net. Coming up through. Deflected by Palucci. Now picked up by Flanagan. Now Kazarowski. Into the Honeybake zone momentarily. Palucci on the hunt here. Kazarowski keeps that puck in. Palucci able to keep it at the half wall. And Dobbs is going to be on the hunt here. We've got Bowman in on with Bell Tire Bowman and Caitlin Flanagan. Dobbs with possession out with Agbe and Markovich. Dobbs coming up ice. Dobbs turning in. Dobbs move pass. Quick shot. Gets deflected. Picked up by Agbe. Agbe turning in. Agbe's going to find the back of the net as she collected the puck off the wall. And that's going to be a 2-0 game brought to you by Audrey Agbe. What a shot. We got Andrew down there dancing. Laura's dancing. Bell Tire's having fun.
Way to go, Audrey! Way to go, BT!
We restart. Clemens out there with Evans, Cruciano, Bowman, and Mackenzie Flanagan. Puck is down. Evans coming free with it. Evans sending it in. Cruciano's going to be back on the hunt here, looking for another goal. And we lost looks like a Honeybake player lost an edge there. On the chip out, Clemens gets a stick on it. Cruciano disrupting play. Now this is going to be defended by Bowman. That puck sent up in the air, gloved down by Flanagan, picked up by Cruciano. Cruciano turning up ice. Cruciano sending it ahead. She's going to make her way down deep into the Honeybake zone. Honeybake behind their own net. Coming up through their own zone into neutral. Chased by Hewer. Sent it down deep into the Bell Tire zone. Collected by Mackenzie Flanagan. Mackenzie Flanagan turning up ice. Getting it ahead for Palucci. Picked free by Honeybake. Honeybake in the Bell Tire zone. Now sent aside. Picked up by Hewer. Hewer coming up through neutral. She's going to dump it deep. Hewer's going to go for a change. It looks like Kazarowski out there. Martin stepping in with Kazarowski, Palucci, and Dobbs. Palucci at the half wall. Sending it back in. Off of Honeybake's leg and kept in momentarily. Now Martin trying to step up for it. Martin in a foot race now. We've got Morton on D here. Martin picking it up behind her own net. Sending it around, down into the corner, and now picked up by Dobbs. Sending it up to Palucci. Palucci going wide, out of the Bell Tire zone into neutral. Dobbs trying to chase it down. It's going to be picked up by Martin. And now sent out by Morton. Morton sending that down the length. Not going to make it all the way down for an icing with a minute and 40 seconds. Chased down by Evans. Evans sends it down deep. Coming out, Agbe applying pressure. Now Markovich. Markovich keeps it in. And it comes back out into neutral. This is going to be chased down by Caitlin Flanagan, turning up ice. Hitting the brakes, coming back the other way. Sent ahead for Evans. Evans going up to Markovich. Markovich getting it sticked in momentarily. Evans trying to race in, keep that in. Cruciano, Clemens out on ice for Bell Tire. Clemens gets her stick on it. At center ice here, sent back into the Bell Tire zone. And sent ahead. Icing is waved. This is going to be picked up by Mackenzie Flanagan in her corner. Sent ahead to the half wall for Cruciano, who gets it tipped out into neutral. Cruciano chasing it down. Taken down to the ice, picked up by Flanagan, sent back to Mackenzie. Mackenzie moving it up ice. That's going to hit and be picked up by Honeybake in neutral. Honeybake circling in their own zone. Honeybake turning up ice. And we're going to get a trip on Hewer here. There's going to be 34 seconds here. I'm sorry, 30 seconds. 30-something seconds. 31.8 seconds. And Bell Tire's going to go on to a penalty kill. Agbe out there with Dobbs, Martin, and Caitlin Flanagan. And off the draw, Caitlin lost an edge. And we're going to have a penalty on Honeybake. So now we're going to go on 4-on-4 hockey. That's going to come all the way back to the other end. So we will go to 4-on-4 hockey. Dobbs, Agbe, Martin, Caitlin Flanagan. Bell Tire looking to get another one in here. Honeybake down into their zone. Chased by Agbe. Coming up the wall. Martin stepping in. Picked up by Flanagan. Honeybake with possession. In their own zone. Cleared up by Dobbs. Dobbs with possession. Dobbs turning back. Dobbs walking in. Dobbs taking a shot. That's going to go wide of the net. Picked up by Flanagan. Flanagan moving it back to Martin. Martin in neutral now. Martin walking back into neutral. She's just going to protect the puck with 3 seconds remaining here. And that'll be the end of the second period. We will be back in 10 minutes. I will have to start a new link. Laura will send it out on the chat. So be ready in 10 minutes.